Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Now, I know some of you have been dying to see Mildred, Finster's sister, who does not like to appear on camera, but we've got her sort of trapped here. So follow me, if you will. You see, I installed, there she was, you saw her for a second. I installed this cat highway that goes up here this way. And if you look up at the top, up there is Mildred. Hello, Mildred. See, there she is. We got you. You're on camera. So that's Mildred. And you see, we're here in my little office. See, there's box sets. Oh my, lots of box sets. And here's one shelf, and here's another shelf, and here's two more shelves, and then there's like shelves and shelves extending in both directions this way. But I just thought that I would take advantage of that opportunity to have her make her involuntary film debut, especially now that, the writers and all those people are on strike. I have to do this surreptitiously. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we've been talking about a lot of Beethoven piano concerto cycles because it seems like there is an unlimited quantity of these suckers coming out. It's unbelievable. And what is even more unbelievable is how good they've been. I mean, really first class. And there's Finster down there. Hello, dear. So it's really been kind of amazing. And what can I say? We just talked about the new recording with who was it? Helmchen Zhang, wasn't that his name? I think. Forgive me if I mess up foreign names. With Natalie Stutzman on bass, and then there was. There's the really good Naxos one. Who was it with Giltberg, I think, and then there's they're just all over the place. And one of you mentioned this one with Martin Helmschen and Andrew Manze with the Deutsches Symphony Orchestra Berlin on Alpha. This is an absolutely fabulous, first-rate, modern Beethoven piano concerto cycle on 3 separate CDs. So you get also the triple concerto. Yeah, with Antje Vitas violin and Mary Elizabeth Hecker cello. Now, this is like that Natalie Stutzman one and like a bunch of the more recent ones, and one of my very favorites, that the David Zinman and Yefim Bronfman one. It combines what I would say is the best of the period instrument universe with modern instruments, a modern piano, yes, a modern, good-sounding modern piano. And all that means in general is livelier tempi, maybe a little ornamentation of the melodic line and the slow movements especially. That's ornamentation. Jazz hands, these are ornamentation fingers. You get both. And it's wonderful because what we see is that the some of the more musically sensible and rational strictures of the period instrument movement have been adopted by modern performers, by normal performers, and on modern instruments, and it works wonderfully well. And the funny thing about it is that when that happens, we realize that the most important things are universal musical qualities. It's not, textbook things about how much vibrato you should use or whether you should have a chin rest or whether, it's not the mechanics. The mechanics of sound production. If you really care about the mechanics of sound production, you can, of course, listen to a forte piano and go back and listen to one of those, what I call them, recordings in the bathroom, with like 3 players in some awful sounding room with scruffy intonation. I mean, we can recreate. We can recreate whatever we want. The question is whether we ought to and whether we should preserve what we recreate when we recreate whatever we want. I think don't I have like the most horrible Beethoven cycle? Isn't it right here? Yes, I do. I know I had it right here. I've saved it. It's a party record. You save it for your friends. One of the most horrible. I mean, there are so many. It's this one. This is also on Alpha. See, there you go. They've got the best and the worst. This thing with Arthur Schönderverd and Cristofori on historical instruments, on ghastly forte pianos that sound like crap. And oh my God, the most awful Beethoven cycle ever is right there. But so there is that. A totally anti-musical travesty. but these are absolutely stupendous. Helmchen is a wonderful pianist, wonderful pianist. He's one of the, all of these better cycles manage to encompass the range of what Beethoven wrote. He's fresh and lively in the first two concertos. They're full of vim and vigor, especially the second concerto, which is really the first, which can kind of fall apart. That first movement is Beethoven not quite knowing yet what sonata form is and writing like a big long chain of tunes. And you got to make it hang together. And oh, do these hang? I mean, his tone is lovely. The sonics are lovely. His rhythmic articulation is so crisp and fresh and marvelous. The third symphony has a nice Sturm und Drang feel in the outer movements, and the Largo, the slow movement. Oh, wow, is it beautiful. With, the piano and the flute solo, and that's just lovely. The fourth concerto it's my favorite. It's always the one where it's Mozart only with more muscle, and you have to get the Mozart elements, but you also have to get the Beethoven elements. It's terrific. He does a great first movement cadenza, particularly here, and that slow movement with just the dialogue between the strings of the piano, it doesn't sound too etoliated. Is that the word? Sort of thinned out and starving of texture. There's a real give and take between the two. And the Emperor is imperial. It's emperor-like. It's fresh and quick. I use the word fresh a lot in these performances because that's really what the HIP movement brought to this music. Freshness. Freshness in the sense, not that you've never heard it before, but in the sense of keeping it moving, knowing what to do when you encounter a dead spot, steadiness of tempo that works really well. I mean, the finale of The Emperor could really die. I don't know why. It never should. It's it's like a wonderfully, zippy tune, but it really can kind of like seem like it's just going around and around and around and it's never going to stop. Well, here everything has direction and purpose, and Helmschen just has such sensitivity to his exchanges between himself and the orchestra, and Manze is becoming really a very fine conductor. He knows what he's doing in this music, and he doesn't overdo it. He really doesn't, but he creates a personality, a character for the orchestra that plays off very nicely against the soloist. And the result is that, yes, as one of you mentioned, this is one of the great contemporary Beethoven concerto cycles. Now, I reviewed, I think, one or two of these already on ClassicsToday.com, at least one of them. You can go see that review there. It was hard to source these at the time. I remember I was having a little bit of aggravation trying to get my hands on the other two. So I wasn't able to cover all of them then. So I'm happy to talk about them here. Go for it. They're lovely. Keep on listening, friends, and thanks for joining me. Just what you need. More Beethoven piano concertos. Oh, my God.